The industry-changing memo did not look like much. 6 pages of polite business language, drafted on a Tuesday afternoon, slipped into a state docket usually reserved for smokestack upgrades and warehouse permits. Yet those paragraphs triggered an earthquake that is still rumbling through freight yards from Long Beach to Newark. A major American logistics giant asked California regulators for an additional 28 months to use the clean air grant it had been awarded years earlier. Buried midway through the filing were 2 bombshell revelations. First, the company now expects its long-awaited battery-powered trucks to arrive no sooner than the summer of 2026. Second, dramatic changes to product economics have forced executives to cut their original order by more than half. Reading between the cautious lines, it is clear the sticker price has skyrocketed while the production timeline keeps stretching. In an era when every hour of downtime costs money, that single letter has people from Wall Street to truck stop diners asking whether the most famous electric 18-wheeler on Earth is still the future or just another futuristic promise lugging a trailer full of delays. To grasp why the date matters, rewind to the evening the truck was first revealed. The company's chief executive rolled onto a glowing stage in a prototype so angular it looked ripped from a graphic novel. He declared that mass production would reach 50,000 units per year by the end of 2024, enough to flip the diesel economy on its head. That pledge helped vault reservations into the thousands and pushed competitors to scramble for their own battery designs. Fast forward to today, only a handful of electric rigs have shipped to a soda bottler, a freight tech startup, and a few pilot fleets. Everyone else is stuck in limbo, refreshing inboxes for an invoice that never arrives. Now, with that leaked delivery window pointing to mid-2026, the math grows unsettling. If the first big customer outside the beverage sector sees only a sliver of its order 2 years from now, what does that mean for the hundreds of companies further down the list? From dispatch offices to hedge fund terminals, people are starting to price in a longer wait, and lifespans on diesel tractors are being extended just in case. Price, however, is the bombshell that shakes balance sheets. When the electric truck was unveiled in 2017, suggested prices undercut many deluxe diesels, roughly $150,000 for the shorter range model and $180,000 for the long hauler. Those figures helped convince cautious fleet managers that the battery gamble could pencil out. Since then, reality has bitten. Aluminum tariffs have climbed, copper prices have spiked, and a fresh 25% duty on high-voltage electronics, triggered in April, adds even more strain. Battery cells with nickel, manganese, and high-grade graphite remain in tight supply worldwide. Industry whisperers now peg the true sticker well above $400,000, nearly triple what early customers budgeted. Critics say that LEAP torpedoes the entire business case. Proponents insist lower fuel and maintenance costs still deliver a positive return within 3 to 5 years, especially once federal and state incentives are tallied. The honest answer lives in a spreadsheet most outsiders will never see. But the sudden need to renegotiate capital expenditure plans tells its own story. Underneath the cab sits a battery pack that reads more like a grid substation than a vehicle component. Engineers moved to a 1,000-volt architecture fed by cylindrical cells taller than a cola can. With total capacity brushing 900 kilowatt-hours, the pack dwarfs the energy storage in a popular electric crossover by nearly an order of magnitude. 3 motors divide the workload. 1 sips power for steady cruising. 2 leap to life when mountain grades or quick merges demand brute force. Quiet track tests shared among partner fleets suggest loaded rigs can cover 466 to 497 miles on a single charge. Then slurp back 70% of that range during a coffee break stop at a megacharger. Those chargers, capable of more than 1 megawatt apiece, are being installed first at distribution centers where downtime equals lost revenue. Drivers who have tried the prototype rave about instant torque, silence at highway speed, and a center seat cockpit that provides wraparound visibility without the vibration that rattles bones after a 12-hour shift. If early impressions hold true, the machine rewrites what it feels like to pilot 40 tons of freight. On a scrubby stretch near Reno, a new high bay hall now shimmers in desert heat, its roof peppered with skylights, and its floor lined with robotic arms waiting for the green light. The parent company has poured nearly $4 billion into that expansion alone, betting that internal cell production and local casting lines can outrun supply chain snags. Managers boast that once the line hits its stride, it will produce one tractor roughly every 10 minutes. Skeptics point out that each semi-battery devours enough cells to power 10 family SUVs, so the factory must ramp cell output by an order of magnitude without starving the company's core car models. Component logistics will stretch across North America. Cast front structures from Texas, drive units from Fremont, battery sections from Nevada itself. One hiccup, a tariff argument, a storm-damaged rail spur, a mining strike could halt the conveyor. The upside is enormous, the fragility just as grand. Of course, no revolution happens in a vacuum. European heavy vehicle titans are field testing hydrogen fuel cell rigs, while domestic rivals are launching short-range electrics aimed at port drayage and supermarket delivery. Yet none promise a mass-manufactured long-haul battery tractor before 2027. That leaves an opening wide enough to drive a convoy through, if the Pioneer can sprint instead of stumble. Fleet number crunchers compare cost per mile and see diesel hovering around $1.50 once fuel, maintenance, and emissions fees are included. Internal projections for the battery rig, especially when charged at off-peak industrial rates, land near 85 cents. Over 500,000 annual miles, the savings stack high enough to make even jaded controllers reach for contract forms. Subsidies sweeten the pot, up to $40,000 in federal clean transport credits, layered with state vouchers that can chop another 5 figures from the bottom line. Given those carrots, it is no wonder order books remain thick, even as lead times lengthen. Yet the steepest grade may not be economic. Labor unions representing more than 3 million American truck drivers see a darker side to headlines about autonomous convoy mode. The technology lets one human pilot a lead truck, while software steers several unmanned trailers in its slipstream, reducing drag and, more crucially, payroll. Regulators at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration have begun drafting rules for high-automation commercial vehicles. But public comments range from cautious optimism to outright fury. Safety advocates worry that a reinforced learning algorithm trained in a virtual sandbox may falter when a blown tire or an unexpected lane closure violates its tidy assumptions. Cold weather saps battery performance. Desert heat stresses power electronics. Construction zones force last-second merges that even seasoned drivers dread. While the manufacturer's social media clips show glossy prototypes threading traffic with ballet-like grace, policymakers are demanding miles of verified data on real roads, in real weather, with real stakes. Until that paperwork clears, the Nevada assembly line could churn out tractors that are legal to sell, but nowhere to drive autonomously. And then there is the cautionary tale parked in many suburban driveways. The stainless steel pickup that once boasted 2 million reservations. Initial quarters saw the angular truck soar to the top of the electric pickup charts, only to watch demand ebb as early adopters filled their garages and transaction prices slid by double digits between January and February. The lesson is brutal. Hype can launch volume, but only sustainable pricing and wide-angle appeal keep it afloat. If a 60,000-pound tractor carries a sticker equal to a luxury condo, the buyer pool shrinks fast once incentives expire. Investors remember that the dot-com era produced dazzling prototypes that never scaled. The freight sector, built on razor-thin margins and long asset life cycles, will not forgive a mispriced gamble. Still, the visionary paints in epic strokes. The chief executive speaks of millions of battery rigs forming rolling neural networks, of charging plazas that double as grid balancing assets, even of battery-powered crawlers inching across the ruddy dust of Mars, hauling supplies between landing pads and habitats where diesel would freeze solid. The idea is audacious: transportation as a software platform that learns, updates, and compounds advantages faster than rivals can copy them. If the scheme works, Tomorrow's Middle America warehouse cluster might pop up wherever megacharger rates are lowest and autonomy regulations are friendliest, reshaping land values the way railroads once did. Diesel refineries could see demand sag, while electricity cooperatives become kingmakers in logistics deals. Such ripple effects tempt analysts to label the semi not merely a truck, but a wedge that pries open energy, labor, and infrastructure paradigms all at once. Everything, however, hinges on that letter's date. June of 2026, no longer a distant milestone, now serves as the unofficial countdown clock for freight's next great experiment. If the first production wave rolls out on schedule, meeting its promised range and hitting a cost curve that customers can stomach, the transformation accelerates. Interstate rest stops refit into megawatt plazas. Diesel tech programs pivot to battery maintenance, and convoy exemptions thread their way through state legislatures. If instead the timetable slips again and budget overruns snowball, the dream may stall into a drawn-out pilot project that nibbles at niche lanes, while traditional rigs keep roaring down the vast majority of American highways. The stakes, then, are nothing less than how goods move, how drivers earn a living, and how cities breathe. One mid-sized retail chain, switching entirely to battery trucks, could trim as much carbon from its supply line as planting a small forest. Conversely, one critical flaw, mass battery degradation, a charging outage that strands perishable food, a software glitch that causes even a minor pileup, could freeze public acceptance for years. It is easy to forget that modern logistics depends on ruthless reliability. A single missed delivery can upend lean inventory systems from grocery store to hospital. The pioneer must prove not only that it can go fast, but that it can go fast every day, in blizzards and heat waves, past midnight and just before dawn. Only then will the skeptical purchasing departments ink multi-year replacement cycles and pension funds gamble on megacharger bonds. Which brings us back to you, watching this video, perhaps from the cab of a truck idling at a loading dock, perhaps from an office chair surrounded by spreadsheets, perhaps simply curious about a machine that might soon pass you in the slow lane without ever downshifting. The story is unfolding in real time, shaped by tariffs signed last month, factory robots powered up this morning, and policy drafts that could change with the next election. By the time June of 2026 arrives, we will all know whether the memo that sparked today's buzz was a footnote in history or the opening shot of a revolution. If you want front row seats to the next twist in this high-stakes journey, whether it's a triumphant production ramp, a breakthrough in convoy autonomy, or a fresh round of price tag drama, hit subscribe and tap the notification bell right now. Give the video a like if you learned something new, and share your thoughts in the comments. Is the battery truck the dawn of cleaner freight? Or will diesel keep the crown for another decade? Your insight drives our next deep dive, so add your voice and help steer where we go next.